Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL turned life and fitness coach. I'm your host, JP Bolwan. This podcast is your resource for unlocking the healthiest, most productive, and highly effective man within you. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Highly Effective Man podcast. I'm your host, JP, and this week we're going to be talking about habits. It's the topic that I'm going to be coaching with my men's group this week. And it brought up a lot of thoughts around why I was able to be successful in some of the things that I've struggled with before and how I was able to overcome those. And as I was looking up, things to talk about this week with the men's group, I came across an old book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And he talks about Alcoholics Anonymous in there and how working with habits can be very effective at combating alcoholism, but up to a certain point, because what happens is that, creating these new habits or identifying these habits and then creating new ones can be very effective at keeping people from drinking. But sometimes an extreme event or extreme circumstances can lead to somebody breaking those new habits and going back to either drinking or whatever it is. And so, that's why I want to talk to you guys about habits and how you can create a higher purpose, or what can help you, the secret weapon to overcoming those struggles. And so it's important because, chances are that, at some point, you've been, struggling to overcome something, whether it be drinking, whether it be eating sweets, or just trying to eat healthier. But for one reason or another, you say, I'll start tomorrow, or one more won't hurt, one more day, one more week, whatever it is. And you push it off. Right. And then maybe you feel bad or whatever it is. And then you decide you're going to try again. And then something comes up, and then, you're like, oh, life happened. And it happens again. And so this is why it's important now, so that we can, identify ways to overcome some of these struggles and what types of steps we can take to help us achieve what we want to achieve. Right. And so, the story I want to talk to you guys about is that, back, if you guys listen to my podcast with, it was an interview with Coach Bergner. He talks about how every Lent he gives up alcohol. And as we were talking, I was like, that might be a good idea. And, I hadn't given up alcohol for a long time. And he was talking about how he gives it up, and it's about 40 days or so. And so I was like, I'm going to jump on it with you. And at the time, I'd said, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. And, but I wasn't sure, because at that time I was drinking, quite often, not like out of control or anything like that, but just, I'd have a glass of wine or a beer. And, I would say I was just drinking more than I wanted to be. And so I thought it would be a good challenge for me. And I didn't know if it was something that I would be able to do, because I was just so used to either you come home, it's been a long day or whatever it is. And, you get into the habit of, sometimes you say, oh, I just want to crack a beer or have a glass of wine to relax. And then before you know it, it's like a full on habit, and you just do it, even though you may or may not need to relax. Okay. So I jumped on the challenge, and, one of the things that I found was that it was a little bit challenging in the beginning, but overall, I would say that the challenge was not as hard as I expected it to be. And I didn't really know why until I was, going back through some of this material that I'm talking about the power of habit and all that. But I would say that it's because of two reasons why it was a little bit easier than I expected. One was that I had made a commitment to my old weightlifting coach and my friend. And I said, you know what, I'm going to jump in this with you. I'm going to do it. And the thought of me going back on my word to him was just not cool. Right. And so I didn't want to say that I was going to do something and not do it, right? And it's funny because sometimes we'll place our word to somebody else, with at a higher priority than the like making a promise to yourself, which just kind of seems kind of crazy, right? It's like we'll break promises to ourselves all the time, but when it comes to breaking promises to other people, many times we won't do that, right? And so that was one reason, right? And then I would say the other reason was that I was tying that commitment to Lent, right? And Lent is a Catholic tradition and part of the religion. And in my mind, I said, okay, if I'm giving this up for Lent, well, then God knows, right? And God knows if I'm going to take a drink or if I'm not going to take a drink. He's around all the time, right? And regardless of what your views are on religion, what I'm trying to express to you is that having a higher purpose or a higher power in mind when it comes to habits or goals can really help you get through some of the challenges and the struggles that you might be facing. And before I knew it, it had been 46 days that I hadn't had a drink of alcohol or even a sip of alcohol, and I was fine, right? And when it came time to break that fast of alcohol, I was like, oh, I'll have a glass of wine and it's okay. But it wasn't like I had the glass of wine or whatever it was, and then I just kept drinking. I knew from the experience of going those 46 days that I don't need to drink every day, and I don't even need to drink twice a week if I don't want to. But it just reminded me that I am in control, right? That when we decide that we don't want to drink or that we don't want to have sweets or that we make a commitment that we can follow through, right? Or that I could follow through. It reminded me that I'm in control and that I can make decisions and stick to those decisions. And I didn't realize it at the time, but when I'm going through, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and he talks about how Alcoholics Anonymous, a lot of times they just go into switching the habit, but in the times of extreme, events or circumstances, a lot of times people will forego those habits, and that habits can be very effective up to a certain point, but then after that there needs to be some type of higher purpose or higher power, right? And I think that was very key for me, at least, to not drinking during Lent. It just made it a lot easier. I didn't even really think about it because I was just like, oh, there's alcohol there, but do I want to have a sip? No, not really, because I don't want to break, one, my word to my coach, and then two, I know that God could see if I'm going to have alcohol or not. It's not like I could say like, no, I didn't have it, because in my mind, and what I believe is that he knows what's happening at all times, right? And so I want to give you 4 steps that you can use to overcome something you're struggling or to quit a bad habit. And Charles Duhigg talks about the golden rule for quitting any bad habit. And the key is that you don't try to resist whatever it is that you're craving, right? So a lot of times when we're craving sweets or we're craving alcohol or we're craving something that's not good for us, many times it's not the actual thing itself, but how we feel after we've consumed whatever it is, right? So a lot of times it's like with alcohol, it's like I want to feel relaxed or whatever it is that I'm looking for, and a lot of times that's the same thing with sweets or food and that type of stuff. Like we'll eat to change our state, whatever our state is that we're not happy with, and eating something sometimes helps us either relieve stress or make us feel more relaxed. So the first step is to identify the cue that makes you want to drink or makes you want to eat, whatever it is that you're struggling. What's the cue that is creating that, right? And then what is also the routine and the reward that comes with that, right? So you identify the cue, what's the routine, and what's the reward, right? And then step two is to, once you've listed out all the cues that you have throughout your day, step two is to look at, okay, what is it exactly that I crave from that habit, right? So like I said earlier, if I'm craving the sensation of being relaxed or having less stress, I need to identify what it is exactly that I'm craving, right? So that reward or whatever it is. And then what I do is that I keep the same cue and the reward. So this is step three. I keep the same cue and the reward, but I switch out the routine, right? So let's say that I want to be relaxed or I just want to change my state. Well, when I get home, and normally maybe I get home and let's say the first thing I do is that I crack the fridge open and there's a beer there and I want to drink a beer. Well, maybe the cue is me cracking the fridge open, right? So I get home, I open the fridge, that's the cue. Well, now instead of reaching in and grabbing the beer, maybe I just do 25 push-ups. And then, after that, I close the fridge and I feel differently, right? I just, I interrupted what that normal routine was. Or maybe I come home, I crack the fridge open, I see the beer and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I go for a 10, 15-minute walk. And then I have that feeling of being relaxed. I also have the feeling and the pleasure of not drinking, right? Like being true to my word, because every day that went by during those days in Lent that I didn't drink, I was happy. I was proud. I was proud that I was adding another day to it. And, I didn't want to take the chance of, having a sip of alcohol and ruining all those consecutive days that I had without drinking. Right. And so it's important to, stack those little wins up because the more often you do that, the more often, the better the relationship with yourself you have. Right. Because you're proving to yourself that you can do what you say you're going to do. Right. And so I would say step 4 is to make the commitment to a friend and or identify a higher purpose behind it or even a higher power, right? And a higher purpose could be like, why do I want to give this up in the first place? Like, what is like, is it so that my health in the long term, right? Like, so I don't die early. Like, that's a pretty big purpose, right? To start, watching what you eat and, not drinking as much, like that type of stuff. So identify the higher purpose, right? And if it's religion or whatever, maybe tie it to, if you believe in God or if you, believe in a higher power, tie it to that. And see how that affects, your level of commitment and desire to stick with the program, right? So the 4 steps are identify the cue, routine, and reward. Step 2 is to list exactly, what it is that you crave when you go for that bad habit. And then step 3 is to keep the same cue and the reward, but just switch out the routine, what you do in the middle, right? So instead of drinking or eating, I'm now going for a walk or doing the push-ups or whatever it is. And then step 4 is making the commitment to a friend and to identify a higher purpose behind it. Okay. And I think if you do those 4 steps, you're going to find that you're going to be more successful when it comes to creating new habits and letting go of old habits, right? Especially the habits that aren't helping you or that aren't serving you, right? And so that's just, 4 steps that you can do. And I really think that identifying a higher purpose is the secret weapon to overcoming obstacles, right? Because the only time that I've, I would say that I've been 100% committed is because I had a higher purpose behind it. It's bigger than, the why or whatever it is. Like, that why and the higher purpose, they can be kind of, I guess intertwined, but it's at a higher level, right? And even in Atomic Habits, uh, Clear, I can't remember his first name right now, but he talks about, uh, how effective a higher purpose can be because you look at a woman that maybe smokes and drinks but then becomes pregnant, and then all of a sudden she's able to stop drinking and stop smoking, right? And it's not because of you know any magic 4 steps or 5 steps or whatever it is, or even thinking about identifying a cue or this and that, whatever it is, or identifying habits. It's because of that one decision that she made about, what I'm growing in my belly is more important than smoking a cigarette or having a drink, right? Like that higher purpose can transform you instantly, or why, somebody can totally change the second they become uh, a parent, right? Or how a coworker can change as soon as they become maybe a leader in the organization, right? Well, now their priorities have changed, or what they see and envision has changed. So now it's like, okay, I need to change, or things need to change, right? And so those are 4 steps that I think can help you. And I truly believe that identifying a higher purpose is the secret weapon to overcoming obstacles and helping you achieve what you want to do. If you want to jumpstart on your health and fitness goals, you got to check out the Warrior Body Reset. You guys can go there, and basically it's 3 easy steps. I said 3 easy steps that you can check out. All you do is you go to thewarriorbodyreset.com, fill out the information there, and then you'll get in your email the 3 steps to help you jumpstart your fitness and help you get results basically in less than 30 days. All right, guys, that's all I got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you found some value in this, share it with a friend, leave a review, and I will see you guys next week. All right, let's go. Thank you for listening to the Highly Effective Man podcast. If you enjoyed or learned something on this episode, do me a favor and share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And one last thing, if you want to work with me as your coach to help you get fit, be more productive, and in general, just be the most effective version of yourself, head over to my site, higherlevelcoaching.co. Once again, that's higherlevelcoaching.co, and schedule a call with me there. Thank you again. Let's go.